Hi, my name is Carrie and I live in Wilmington, North Carolina. I own a Pilates studio there. I've owned it for 14 years. I got into Pilates as a young dancer. When I was off for the summers, I would go to a Pilates studio in Wilmington, and I didn't live there yet, but there's a studio there where I would take lessons, and I really fell in love with it. I didn't get into the training aspect of Pilates until about 6 years later. I actually had a pretty bad injury as a dancer, so after really trying to make dance work with an injury, finally decided that I didn't want to do that anymore. So I actually moved to Charleston, South Carolina, because I thought that'd be a really fun place to live. And it was awesome. And I was taking a walk one day, and there was a Pilates studio. And I was walking with a girlfriend, and I said, oh my gosh, I really want to get back into Pilates. I did it when I was a dancer, and she bought me a gift certificate for my birthday. And when I went into the studio, I took my first lesson, and the owner was there. And she came up to me and said, gosh, you really picked up on that quickly. Would you like to go through the teacher training program? We're holding one soon. And I said, yeah, and I really never left the studio again. I got into the training program, and I worked the front desk, and I sat in that studio all day long, and it was an amazing way to learn the method. So even as a kid, I knew I wanted to be a teacher, and I, as a dancer, always thought I'd own my own studio when I quit dancing. And then I found Pilates, and I knew I wanted to own my own Pilates studio. So it was instantly the goal to have my own place. I taught in the studio in Charleston for about 3 years, and then I moved to Wilmington, which is where all of my family, even though we weren't born and raised there, we all live there now. And that's where I opened my studio 16 years ago. The name of my studio is In Balance Pilates Studio. I think that what inspires me daily in my teaching is probably just trying to help people feel better. One of the things that I love the most about my studio and the way that my girls teach is we really meet you where you are. So some people come in and they just want a firmer butt. And some people come in and they want to really dive into the method. And I don't think you can force what you want out of your student. You have to see where they are. And I always am amazed that sometimes it takes 3 lessons, and sometimes it takes 3 years or 30. But eventually people will come around and they'll start to really see the method as something that's gonna change the way their body functions and moves, and helps them, as they get older and have grandchildren, helps them be able to get down on the floor and play with their grandkids and be able to get up off the floor. When I went through my training program, Karen Sanzo was the facilitator of the program. And she really changed the way I looked at thinking about myself and talking to students. Because I had taught young dancers, and as a dancer myself, you always focused on what wasn't good enough, what you needed to do better. And when Karen was teaching the program, she would always emphasize what was being done right. So instead of saying, don't do this, she would say, that's great, do it this way now. And it was a completely different approach to the way that I looked at communicating. Pilates has changed for me a lot over the years. When I first got into Pilates, what I loved was the order and the system and the rules. And that was so familiar because of dance. And it just was such a natural progression for me. What's funny is it continued to stay very familiar and safe for me because I had children and I lost all control when I had kids. So the one thing that stayed in my control was the order and the rules and the repetitions. And I really think that there was something, again, that was just safe to me about that. But now, as my kids have gotten older and gotten a little easier and my life has changed and I've just grown up a lot in the last probably 5 years or so. And I see Pilates having a lot more freedom now. And you never could have convinced me that it was going to change to what it is for me today. And I'm really enjoying my process right now, which is being more creative and just exploring the future of Pilates. My advice to anyone wanting to start Pilates is to be patient. Pilates is a process, and I've been doing it for 16 years, and I'm still learning. I'm still feeling the exercises differently. And a lot of times people will say to me over the course of their early lessons that why isn't this getting easier? They think it should be getting easier, but it really just gets better. And in a way, it gets harder, but it gets better. So I would just say be patient and trust the process. If you'd like to find out more about me and the workshops and classes I offer, you can visit my website at carriepagespilates.com. And you can also follow me on Instagram at Carrie_Pages_Pilates.com to see daily posts of exercises.